Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, he, she, stays, and them, welcome back to Me's My Passion, YouTube streaming channel about all things women's football. And today I have a very special video for you as I will be running down every single one of the teams that will be performing down under in, at the time of this recording, 2 days time. And this is basically just a detailed guide of the teams that are going to be there in Australia and New Zealand, what to expect from those teams, what veteran you should watch from those teams, and which up and coming starlet you should watch from those teams as well. This is just basically a guide for you to know as you're going into a certain match which team is going to be playing what kind of way, what to expect from that game, if it's going to be a high impact, very energetic kind of game, or it's going to be a very slow, very dour affair where it's going to be a very pragmatic approach by the teams to the game and such and such. So I really hope you do enjoy this video. It's taken about like 2 weeks to research all of this, but hopefully you get as much detail as you need, especially for the teams that you're following. But other than that, let's get stuck into it already. We kick things off in Group A with co-host New Zealand, who automatically qualified for the Women's World Cup as being, of course, a co-host. Now, New Zealand's tactical approach here is kind of in relation to Burnley, where they are very sound defensively, but when it comes to attacking or going up front, they haven't had a lot of joy or results to really show for their efforts and their work. And their head coach, Jitka Kinkova, I really hope I pronounced that correct as usual, she has promised to address this issue to try and give the football fans a better chance of actually advancing past the group stage and into the knockout stages of the World Cup. So hopefully when we go to see the team down under, you'll see there is more attacking mouse that New Zealand will have, as they will already be very, very solid when they're going into the defense. And looking at the history of New Zealand when it comes to competing at major tournaments, they have a little bit of that Tottenham DNA in them, where they pretty much do not achieve anything, as they have never won or qualified for a knockout round in any of the 5 World Cups that they have appeared in to date. So hopefully this time around they can go and smash that record and actually get into the knockouts. Even if it's just the round of 16, that's perfect in my opinion. Progress is progress. Now, to the veteran to watch, we have Ali Riley. She is currently the team captain of New Zealand and has been to 4 World Cups and 4 Olympic Games. She is considered the bedrock of defense there for New Zealand, who exhibits a very calming personality that helps keep the team on a level and very calm, especially in tense situations, which they will come across when you look at the other teams that we're facing in Group A, like Norway, for example. So that is the veteran to watch, especially there at the heart of defense. She'll be putting in a very, very strong shift by the looks of things. Now, the starlet to watch in New Zealand is Gabby Rennie. She's currently 22 years of age. She scored on her international senior debut. She's currently in college in Arizona State University. Her club career, which is spanning from 2018-2020, by the recent statistics I could find, was when she was just the age of 17. So she turned pro at 17 years old. She's definitely one to watch. And during that time, she scored 20 goals for Canterbury United Pride in the New Zealand Women's National League, where she actually finished the top scorer with 7 goals in 2020. So definitely someone to watch when it comes to New Zealand's attacking front there. And hopefully she can grab herself just a few goals there whilst in the tournament. Up next, we have the Philippines, who qualified for the Women's World Cup by reaching the semi-finals of the 2022 Asia Cup, where all 4 semi-finalists automatically qualified for the Women's World Cup. Now, this is going to be Philippines' debut at the World Cup, and their coach, Alan Stachich, has a lot of experience being at the Women's World Cup, as he used to be the former head coach for the Australia Women's national team. Now, Stachich's approach is going to be very pragmatic, as his tactics are going to be favoring heavy counter-attacking and set-piece situations. And given the inferiority of the Philippines with, at the very least, the teams that they'll be playing against in the group, his pragmatic approach will be more adverse to wanting to see what the opposition does and reacting to that through those counter-attacking and set-piece situations, in addition to defending based on the attacking prowess of the team that he'll be facing. So expect a very balanced approach from the Philippines going forward and when it comes to defending as well. This approach has definitely given Philippines a lot of very good results, as we can see through their qualification. But not only that, as they also won their regional AFF championships through that kind of tactical approach that Static implemented. So it will definitely be an effective approach, and hopefully it is something that can bear fruit for the Philippines, in the sense that if they are unable to qualify for the group stages, then at least they'll have put in very good performances that they can build on going forward. And of course, if they do qualify out of the group stages, that will be a very huge and momentous achievement by the Philippines. Now, the veteran to watch here for the Philippines is Tanay Anis, who was born in the USA but qualifies through her mother, who is Filipino. She is the captain of the team and plays as an attacking midfielder. Now, she was capped in 2018 and she operates as the team's metronome. So pretty much Static is going to be relying heavily on her to help dictate the team's performance on the pitch, in addition to how they're going to be approaching the games, and for her to also be the one who indicates when it is time to initiate an attack or when to just sit back and let the opposition come forward so that they can absorb the pressure and then hopefully hit a counter going forward. So best of luck to Tanay Anis and her team. And now for the starlet to watch, we have Isabella Flanagan, who is also born in the USA but qualifies through her mother, who is also Filipino. Now, Flanagan is only 18 years of age. She plays for the Montford Eagles in Florida. She was capped last year in 2022 and so far has 3 goals in 26 appearances. So she is definitely one to watch. She definitely has an eye for goal at such a very young age. So hopefully when she eventually plays there for the Philippines, she can get herself a few World Cup goals, because that will help her on her way to becoming, hopefully, a very, very good player for the Philippines and whichever professional club she eventually goes to once her school studies are completed. Up next is a team that is going to be under immense pressure, and that is Switzerland, who qualified for the World Cup through the World Cup playoffs after coming second in their qualification group behind Italy. Now, Switzerland to date have not won any major honors, and they are currently coached by Inka Grings, who is yet to win a single match as a manager since her appointment. Now, this is where the majority of the pressure comes from, because Switzerland, they may not be at the top echelon of footballing nations when it comes to, at the very least, the European stage, but they're always there and they're always contending with the biggest teams. So for them to not be going in with the best of form to this World Cup is definitely a point of contention, but hopefully the team can turn that around and put in a very strong performance at the group stages. Now, Grings herself has promised to bring a very aggressive and attack-oriented type of football to the World Cup. So with the likes of Ramona Bachmann in her repertoire of players that she can utilize, hopefully can come to pass, and hopefully Switzerland can have a very good World Cup showing. And speaking of Ramona Bachmann, she is our veteran to watch. Now, Bachmann has 57 goals in 131 appearances for the national team and was first capped in 2007. So she is definitely a veteran of the game, and especially of the national team, and hopefully she can do her best in leading the team to some well needed goals and wins. So best of luck to Bachmann there. And our starlet to watch was going to be Iman Benny. She is 16 years of age and has scored 6 goals in 80 appearances for the young boys women's team in Switzerland. Now, the reason why I say she was going to be the starlet to watch was because she had been called up for the World Cup by Inka Grings. However, she recently suffered an ACL injury which has ruled her out for the World Cup. So hopefully she gets well very soon and she can continue to develop as a player, because getting such a huge injury at a very young age can be detrimental. So hopefully she can rise above that injury and go further forward to build on her very good start as a very young professional. And to finish up the group, we have Norway. The Sleeping Giants of Norway qualified by topping their group through winning 9 games and only drawing 1, which was against Poland. Now, the reason why I use the Sleeping Giant moniker for Norway is that previously they have won the World Cup, which was in 1995. They have won the Euros twice in 1987 and 1993. and they have won the Olympics in 2000. So pretty much on a national level, Norway has completed football. Now, they are favorites for the knockout stages with Hege Riise, who herself is a former World Cup winner with Norway, inspiring a change of plugging up the leaky defense, because beforehand, Norway was solely relying on winning games by just outscoring the opposition. But now, Riise has addressed the leaky defense to make Norway basically one of the strongest teams going to the World Cup, as they have a very solid defensive unit, and of course they are going to be just unleashing so much fury up front in the attack, with the likes of Ada Hegerberg coming back into the international team setup here after her self-imposed exile to the mental strain that had come with fighting for the same rights as the men's team back in 2019. Now, our veteran to watch will be one of the players who will be helping the likes of Ada Hegerberg in Norway's attempt at the World Cup this year, and that is Caroline Graham Hansen, who currently holds the record, which can never be broken, of being the first ever Norwegian to sign for Barcelona, be it for the men's team or the women's team. And she's had a very good start to life for Barcelona, as she recently won the Women's Champions League with them, as well as the domestic league title, the Liga F. And she contributed to the team's exploits with 11 goals and 6 assists in the league alone. So she'll definitely be the one veteran to watch alongside the likes of Ada Hegerberg in the Norwegian team come the World Cup. And our starlet to watch will be 21-year-old Julie Blackstad, who plays at central midfield, where she contributed with 1 goal in 11 matches while she was on loan from Manchester City. Now, Blackstad has a very good engine and plays as a box-to-box midfielder. She received her first call-up at the age of 19, so she's definitely going to be one to watch, and I do think that she's going to get a few minutes of game time, if not a whole batch, as she definitely has the necessary tools it takes to help bridge the defense and attack of the Norwegian team, and can hopefully come out with a much better understanding of the game, especially with the legends that she will be surrounded with at the World Cup. Group B starts us off with the other co-hosts of the Women's World Cup this year in Australia, who have again automatically qualified as the host of the tournament. Now, when it comes to previous performances, Australia have never gone past the quarterfinals of a World Cup, but this year they're riding a wave of momentum as they are coming off the recent 2020 Cup of Nations trophy as the winners. Now, the team is headed up by Tony Gustafsson, whose tactical approach will see the team deploy a very heavy attack approach, with hard work and pace being the hallmarks of the team. Now, this is going to go without saying, but the veteran to watch here is obviously Sam Kerr. Now, in this previous season gone by, Sam scored 12 goals and assisted 5 times in 21 league matches for Chelsea. She is the national team captain. She also helped Chelsea to the Women's Super League title this year, and she was first captain in 2009, and overall has 120 appearances, and in those appearances she has scored 63 goals to date. So Sam Kerr will definitely be the spearhead of the team, and hopefully she can lead the team past the quarterfinals, and if possible go all the way to the finals themselves. So here's to the best for Sam Kerr. Now, our starlet to watch is 20-year-old Mary Fowler. Now, remember the name of Mary Fowler because she scored on a professional debut, age 16. She was called up to the 2019 World Cup squad when she was only 16, and so far has 9 goals and 36 appearances for the Matildas, and received her first cap in 2018. She is definitely going to be one of the big players in the national team. And again, she's only 20 years old, but she's doing it like any professional would. And she walks around with the experience of a veteran. And given that it's going to be her second World Cup going in, she will definitely be the one to look out for going into future tournaments for Australia, as she pretty much now has the experience to do so, and will most likely carry the torch once the likes of Sam Kerr have retired from international duty. So Mary Fowler, definitely one to watch for Australia. Next in Group B, we have Ireland, who qualified for the World Cup through the playoff finals versus Scotland. This is their first debut at a major tournament, and they are currently headed up by Vera Paul, whose tactical approach will see the team have a lot of reliance on heavy defensive action with the occasional counterattack, and a lot of reliance on set-piece actions to provide goals, just like with the Philippines. How I can liken this is in maybe comparison with Jose Mourinho's Porto team of 2004. Just look at how they would play to kind of get an idea of how Ireland will essentially play. The majority of the team's strength will lie in midfield, with the likes of McCabe and O'Sullivan anchoring the team there, and they'll act as the veteranomes to actually see when the team should go on the offensive or the defensive. So a lot of the reliance of the team's performances will be on those two players in particular, as well as the other midfielders who will feature for Ireland. Now, the veteran to watch for Ireland is going to be USA-born Sinead Farrelly, who qualifies through her father, who is Irish himself. She now received her first cap in April of this year, coincidentally, and she's only recently returned to playing professional football after 6 years due to a car accident. And she was also at the forefront of the sexual misconduct scandal which rocked the National Women's Soccer League in America in 2022. So I just personally felt like highlighting her as the veteran to watch because of the fairy tale story that is behind her appearance for Ireland. So hopefully she can have a very good showing for the Irish women's team, and she can do so much to show what she's capable of doing, especially after all the events that she's recently gone through. And the starlet to watch for the Irish women's team is Abby Larkin, who is currently 18 years old, and she has 4 goals and 1 assist for Shamrock Rovers in 2023 as a striker. And of her 6 appearances for Ireland, she has 1 goal so far and was first called up in 2022. So she will most likely be leading the line of attack for Ireland, and hopefully she can bag a goal or 2 during the showing of Ireland against the teams they'll be competing against in the World Cup. The penultimate team of Group B will be Nigeria, who qualified by reaching the semi-finals of the Women's AFCON, where they unfortunately lost out to finalist Morocco. Now, Nigeria's claim to fame when it comes to the international stage is having the most AFCON titles with 11, and they've only gone as far as the quarterfinals at the Women's World Cup. Now, their team is going to deploy a tiki-taka inspired form of fluid football with lots of interchange, primarily between the front 4 attacking players, who are all coached by Brady Waldrum. Now, Waldrum has been very, very vocal about how he wants the team to go forward past the quarterfinals, and given the talent on display that he's chosen to come to Australia and New Zealand, I think it'll be possible, but fingers crossed also that Nigeria can progress past the quarterfinals and hopefully make it to the semi-finals at the very least. The veteran to watch for the Super Eagles will be Onome Ebi, who is a well-traveled veteran who has played for 11 clubs over her career. Her first cap came back in 2003, and she is one of 3 players who will be competing in their 6th World Cup, which is a record which is only held by those 3 players who we will mention as the video goes by, and this record is only beaten by Brazil's Formiga, who has 7 World Cup appearances to her name and is the current record holder. And the starlet to watch for Nigeria will be 19-year-old Deborah Abiodun, who is currently going to college, and funny enough, has been called up to her first World Cup but is yet uncapped. So hopefully she gets to take to the pitch and earn her first cap at a very major event, and hopefully she can take to the occasion like she should. So best of luck to her and the Super Falcons. And finally, in Group B, we have Canada, who qualified by winning the Women's CONCACAF tournament, which included beating the USA in the final itself. So Canada are riding a very huge wave of momentum, in addition to them being the current holders of the Olympic gold medals for women's football. So Canada are definitely going to be ones to watch in this group. I personally took them to make it to the knockouts alongside Australia here, but again, anything could happen because they're also facing up against Nigeria, so an upset could happen. That's besides the point. Now, as I have covered in previous videos, Canada are facing a very turbulent build-up to the Women's World Cup and have to prove a point in this World Cup, as the likes of the issues that they've had with the Confederation itself, of player preparation and player remuneration have been at the forefront of Canada's issues with the Canadian Football Association. So they're going to this tournament with a massive chip on their shoulders, but I do think that they have what it takes to prove that they deserve to be treated way better than they currently are being treated. Now, the team is going to be coached by Bev Priestman, and her tactical approach will focus on balance and solidity, with an emphasis on teamwork and willpower, which is pretty much the theme of Canada's entire World Cup year. And they definitely have the personnel and what it takes to go all the way and definitely prove a point that they deserve way better treatment than they currently are getting from the Canadian Football Association. Now, the veteran to watch is Ashley Lawrence, who was first capped in 2017, and she is definitely an ace in the sleeve of the Canadian women's team, as she's positionally diverse, as she can play in midfield and at fullback. And in the last 6 years, she has played for PSG, where she made 112 appearances, and has recently signed for current Women's Super League champions Chelsea. So she will be teaming up with the likes of Sam Kerr next season, and will definitely be one to watch on a domestic level. And for our starlet to watch, we have 22-year-old Jordan Haitema, who is widely regarded as the heir to Christine Sinclair. I just love that rhyme, rolls off the tongue there. And Haitema, she scored her first international goal at 16, and she is currently the top Canadian scorer in the history of the UEFA Women's Champions League with 6 goals, and is also a gold medal winner with Canada, as she was part of the national team that won it at the 2020 Olympics. We move on to Group C with Spain, who qualified for the World Cup by winning their group qualifiers and going unbeaten, just for extra emphasis there. Now, when it comes to previous World Cups, their best ever finish has been the round of 16, and that is pretty much it for Spain when it comes to World Cup performances. They unfortunately have not won any major honors to date, as far as I could find. And just like Canada, they have also faced a lot of turbulent World Cup preparations due to the very infamous player revolt now, where 15 players, revolted against the team because of their head coach Jorge Vilda and his approach, which the players described to be very physically and emotionally draining for them. Now, as of the last time that I spoke on this issue, at the same time that I do with the Canada issue, some players have returned to be in contention for selection. Some of them have actually been called up by Vilda to go and compete at the World Cup. So the best of luck to those players, and hopefully the environment for them is much better and much more tenable than the ones that they described when they initially revolted against the team. Now, when it comes to the tactics of the team, Jorge Vilda will deploy an attack-centric style of play that is very similar to tiki-taka, which pretty much is tiki-taka, but it'll have his own twist on it, and he will be relying on the likes of Jenny Hermoso, who is our veteran to watch, to help the attack of the team, as she can play as a central attacking midfielder and also as a center forward. Hermoso herself was first capped in 2012 and is currently the most capped woman in Spain's history with 93 caps to date, and also has the most goals for the national team with 48. So she is definitely going to be a talisman of attack, and hopefully she can add a few more goals to the tally that she currently has, and hopefully lead the team past the group stages. Now on to our starlet, and we have another person to watch here, and remember the name, Salva Parajuelo. She is 19 years of age and is a former sprinter, and based on what I've just told you, you will not be surprised to hear that she plays as a left winger for Barcelona. And she only recently signed for the Catalonians and for her previous club, which is Villarreal, where she played from 2019 to 2022. She scored a total of 23 goals in 37 appearances. And for someone who's only 19 years of age, that is a freakish goal return, and definitely suggests that she is going to just get better with age, better with time, and she will definitely lead Spain to bigger things as time goes by. So remember the name, Salva Parajuelo. Second in Group C, we have Costa Rica, who qualified for the Women's World Cup by reaching the semi-finals of the Women's CONCACAF tournament. And their best ever finish to a World Cup has only been to the group stages, and they've never gone out of there before. So hopefully they can improve on that in a few days' time. And their coach, Amelia Valverde, has an approach where she focuses on an aggressive, free-flowing, and attack-minded style of play, and will definitely be one of the teams to watch in how they deploy this, as I do think Costa Rica's style of play is very entertaining and it's pretty much gung-ho in its approach. So that will be the tactics to look out for when it comes to Costa Rica. Now, the veteran to watch for Costa Rica is Raquel Rodriguez Cedeño, who was first capped in 2008 and is currently the all-time goal scorer for Costa Rica with 61 goals in only 104 appearances. And the starter to watch, 16-year-old Sheikha Scott, will be the deputy for Raquel Rodriguez here, who was first capped in 2023, and she plays as a striker and has so far scored 6 goals in 8 appearances for the Costa Rica under-20 team. So here's to the best to both of those players, and hopefully they can give a strong performance and a strong showing for their national team. The third team here in Group C is one of the youngest teams that'll be on display at the World Cup coming up in Australia and New Zealand, and that is the Copper Queens of Zambia. And they qualified for the World Cup by finishing third in the Women's AFCON tournament last year. And this is Zambia's World Cup debut, and their head coach is Bruce Mwape, whose approach is going to be focused heavily on attack, with the defense which is historically lacking in context here, but only recently has become more defensively assured here thanks to Mwape's influence, which helped see Zambia win the COSAFA championships with 4 out of 5 clean sheets, which definitely does show that the defensive line has become more disciplined in the approach to games, and it will surely be tested when they face off against the likes of Japan and Spain at the World Cup. Now, given that Zambia will have the youngest team at the World Cup, there aren't going to be a lot of elderly stateswomen who can really represent the title of a veteran to watch. So in lieu of that, I have chosen young Barbara Banda, who is the goal-scoring talisman of the Zambian team and scored that last-minute winner against Germany recently, as the veteran to watch, as she was first capped in 2018 and in only 8 appearances thus far has scored a total of 11 goals. So definitely she will be the team's main woman when it comes to attacking, and hopefully she can lead Zambia to a few extra upsets in addition to the one that they already caused against Germany. Now, for this team, there were a lot of hard choices that had to be made when it comes to picking the starlet to watch. So eventually we ended up deciding that the whole team will get a special mention here, as it is filled with lots of young talent, such as 2001 born Lushomo Mwemba, who plays at centre back, who has shown a lot of maturity and great tactical awareness as her time has gone by in the national team. And also another special mention to Hazel Nali, who is 25 years of age and is a goalkeeper with very great reflexes and was the hero who helped secure the 3rd place against Senegal at the Women's AFCON in the penalty shootout for Zambia. So pretty much the whole team are the starters to watch at this tournament, and hopefully Zambia can have a good showing at the World Cup. And we're in Group C with Japan, who qualified for the Women's World Cup by reaching the semi-finals of the Asia Cup, where they lost out to the eventual winners, China. And their best performance at a World Cup is actually winning the World Cup in 2011, and they are currently the only Asian nation to have ever won the Women's World Cup. Now, the team is coached by Futoshi Ikeda, whose tactical approach will see the team have a very balanced approach to the attack and defense, as they will be married together to produce a very balanced performance against the teams that they will be going off against in the group stages. Now, this approach has been very, very successful for the Nadeshiko. Obviously, they were unable to win the Asia Cup, but they have managed to qualify for the World Cup nonetheless, and they will definitely be ones to watch in this group. Now, the veteran to watch for the Japanese women is Saki Kumagai, who is the current national team captain. Her first cap came back all the way in 2008. She is part of the 2011 World Cup winning squad and is the last active member of that winning squad, and has won the Women's Champions League 5 times with Olympique Lyonnais, and is the bedrock of defense for her national team. And the starlet to watch for the Japanese women's team is 19-year-old Maika Hamano, who plays as a striker and has gotten 11 goals and 22 appearances for Hammarby on loan from Chelsea. So obviously, as you can see, she's taken a little bit of finishing lessons from Sam Kerr, and hopefully she can do the same for Japan and hopefully help them qualify past the group stages to the knockouts. Group D starts us off with the three Lionesses who qualified for the Women's World Cup through winning the Euros last year, and their best ever performance at a World Cup has been finishing in third place. Now the team is coached by Sarina Weigmann, whose tactical approach is just going to see England look to dominate the opposition through their lethal attack, which is going to be headed up by 23-year-old Alessia Russo, and the team also is going to be built on the foundation of a very stiff defense that is very good at sitting back and defending a lead or choking out the opposition when the scores are currently tied. So England is definitely one of the favorites to go all the way and potentially win the World Cup, but that will be something that we will see as the tournament progresses. The veteran to watch here for the Three Lionesses is going to be Lucy Bronze, who was first capped in 2013 and is a 3-time Women's Super League winner and a 4-time Champions League winner with Barcelona. And she is going to be there at the fullback position and will be one of the stalwarts at defense and also helping out in attack. And the Three Lionesses starlet to watch will be 20-year-old right winger Katie Robinson, who currently plays for Brighton and Hove Albion. And in the last season for Brighton, she provided 10 goal contributions in 22 appearances, and she is currently being linked with a transfer to Manchester United in the wake of Alessia Russo's departure to Arsenal. So hopefully Katie Robinson can show what she's made of at the World Cup, whether outright on the right or as a striker where she can also play, and hopefully she can have a very good tournament. World Cup debutants Haiti make up the next team here in Group D, who qualified by winning the playoff final against Chile after finishing third at the CONCACAF Women's Tournament as well. They are headed up by Nicolas Delepine, whose tactics involve a game-by-game approach where he sets up his team in the most effective way that can help them deal with the opposition. So for example, in a recent fixture against the USA, he lined his team up in a 5-3-2 to obviously defend against the attacking prowess of the United States. In the next game at the CONCACAF Women's Championship, where they played against Mexico, they played in a 4-3-3 formation, as it was in response to the more balanced nature of Mexico, which was a team that they could very well compete with in the match. And when it came to the playoffs for the World Cup qualifiers, in their match against Senegal, they played a 4-4-2, which is more attack oriented, and in the final against Chile themselves, it was a 4-1-4-1 formation. So there you can easily see just by the formational layout there that Delepine has it down to a T when it comes to looking at the opposition he's facing and setting up his team to respond to that opposition, which I personally think will be a very, very good way to approach this World Cup and to navigate the group stages, which can help Haiti. Obviously, it's a stretch, but can definitely help Haiti to hopefully progress past the knockout stages, and if not, at the very least, give a very strong showing, because the group that they're in features England, we've already mentioned, and also Denmark and China, we will see more of as the video progresses. Now, the veteran to watch here for Haiti is Rose Borgia, who was first capped in 2011 and in 21 appearances for the national team has 18 goals, and just like Mikel Antonio at West Ham, initially started off as a right back, but now she plays as a striker, and she is one of the most imperious strikers who will be on display at the World Cup and will definitely do her part in bullying the opposition defenses and creating opportunities for the Haitians. So hopefully she can give a lot of attention and a lot of trouble to the likes of England and Lucy Bronze and the likes, and hopefully she can have a very good tournament. For everyone following the rise of the Haiti national women's team, you'll not be surprised to hear that the starlet to watch is obviously 19-year-old Dulce Dumone, and for you to understand as to why she is such a huge phenomenon and a huge global talent at such a young age, here's some statistics from her fledgling career so far. Now, she turned professional at 15 when she joined AS Tigresses in the Haitian Women's League. And again, at 15 years old, she ended the campaign as top scorer and best player in one season after scoring 25 goals in only 9 appearances. And after that, she just went on to bigger and better things as she joined Stade de Reims in 2021, and for the 2 seasons that she was there up until 2023, she scored 19 goals in only 33 appearances. So that can just tell you that the level of competition that she's featured in, from a comparatively poor environment in Haiti to a much bigger league in France, especially for Reims, which is essentially a mid-table team for the women's division in France. She has pretty much shone through and through and is definitely ready for another big step up, which she will get as she was signed by Olympique Lyonnais recently and will most likely feature for that dominant team coming up in the next season. And hopefully her career will continue to go upwards on this high trajectory that she's currently on, and surely the individual and team accolades are going to follow her as her career progresses. So again, 19 years of age, completely insane. She received her first cap in 2020 and is definitely going to be one to watch at the World Cup in general, not only as a starlet but just in general. The penultimate team in Group D is going to be Denmark here, who also finished top of their World Cup qualifier group in order to reach the World Cup finals coming up in Australia and New Zealand, and their best ever performance at a World Cup in general has been the quarterfinals. Now, the team is headed up by coach Lars Sondergaard, who's going to deploy a tactical approach that will see the team relying heavily on counter-attacking football and very deep defending in numbers, where they will just seek to pressure and choke out any opportunity that the opposition might have to attack the team, and will look to just quickly counter by releasing the ball to the front 3 players and just going from there and hopefully getting a goal from either those counterattacks or from set-piece situations where they are fairly dangerous as well. Now, the veteran to watch for the Danes is going to be Pernille Harder, who is undeniably the MVP of Danish football, at least on the women's side, as only at the age of 16 on her international debut, she scored a hat-trick. She made her World Cup debut at age 30, which is going to be this World Cup, of course. She was first capped in 2009 and in only 141 appearances has scored 70 goals for the national team. She is undeniably a prolific goal scorer, and when the ball is released to her after the counter-attacking game there for Denmark, best be guaranteed that she's going to put in at least 1 or 2 balls in the back of the net. And the starlet to watch for the Danish national team will be 20-year-old Catherine Moller-Kuhl, who first got her international cap in 2021 and currently plays for Arsenal, where she plays in central midfield. She also has the capacity to play as an attacking midfielder as well, and is definitely one to watch not only at the World Cup but also at the future at Arsenal. And we finish off the group with China, who are, as I mentioned before, the winners of the 2022 Women's Asian Cup, which is also how they qualified for the World Cup coming up here. Now, their best ever performance was coming in second place just behind the United States of America in 1999. Now, the team is coached by Shui King-sha, I really hope I pronounced that correctly, whose tactical approach is built on a solid defensive base that seeks to stifle the opposition before they deploy a very precise and efficient attack that can help the team make the difference. Now, this approach is definitely going to be just a situation where they would like to score 1 goal and then just defend for the rest of the game, defend that lead, or if possible, they will go forward and score 2 It all just depends on the team that they're playing against on the day. Now, the veteran to watch here for the Chinese national team is Wang Shanshan. I hope I pronounced it correctly again. Who was first capped in 2012 and is a positional all-rounder, as she can play in defense, as she can play also in the midfield, but mainly features as a striker for the national team. And she was recently named the 2022 Chinese Women's Footballer of the Year. And the starter to watch for the national team is Shen Mengyu. I really hope I also pronounced that correctly. She has currently scored 6 goals in 23 appearances for Celtic. She is also a league and cup double winner there with Leeds, and also scored in the recent Scottish Cup final against Rangers. So she's doing very well for herself there at Celtic and is only 21 years of age. So here's to her and a very good tournament, hopefully, for China. Group B starts us off with the reigning world champions, the United States of America, who qualified for the World Cup by winning the CONCACAF Women's Championship. In my opinion, it's so dumb that the current world champions don't get to qualify automatically, but that's a situation for FIFA to deal with, I guess. Now, the United States are currently the 4-time World Cup winners, and they have won the last 2 editions and are currently gunning for a record 3rd World Cup in a row, and are looking to become the first women's team to win 5 World Cup trophies, and which will also put them on a par with the Brazil national men's side, who are the only men's team and only team in general to have 5 World Cups to their names. And the team is headed up by Vlatko Andonovski, whose tactical approach is just going to be an all-out attack, because literally when you look at that team, they're just full of attacking power, and their style of football is going to be intense and overwhelming for the majority of opposition teams to deal with. However, on the other side here, the team that the USA is taking to Australia and New Zealand is going to be one of, if not the oldest team on show, and some of that may come as a disadvantage, as they'll be going up against much younger opposition, which can easily fatigue the elder players in there or cause a problem of some sort. So the USA definitely aren't going to have things go 100% their way throughout the tournament, but hopefully they can defy the odds and go for their 5th title and their 3rd one in a row. Now, the veteran to watch for the women's team here is going to be the midfield general known as Julie Ertz, who was first capped in 2013 and is a 2-time World Cup winner with the United States of America. Ertz is definitely going to be one of the players who is going to be looking to dominate the opposition, especially from midfield, and is going to be one of the main actors in the engine room, which will definitely be the ones who dictate the level and intensity of the attack that the United States is going to be bringing to the opposition, not only the group stage, but obviously in the knockout phase of the tournament as well, because it would take a lot to cause the massive upset that will see the United States not go past the group stages. And the young starlet to watch for the United States women's national team is going to be none other than 21-year-old Trinity Rodman. Now, when you read this young lady's CV, it is potentially going to be championship caliber, even though she's yet to get her hands on any significant titles in her young career so far. Now, Rodman currently holds the record of being the youngest ever National Women's Soccer League draft pick ever at 18 years of age, where she is currently the highest paid player in the league. She was the Rookie of the Year and featured in the Best 11 of the year, and was voted the Young Player of the Year in her first professional season, which just goes to show you just how much of a trailblazer she is in her position as a right winger. And currently she plays for the Washington Spirit, who she signed for in 2021, and in 56 appearances she has given the team 26 goal contributions, and that is a very good return for someone as young as she is. The only way is up. The ceiling is extremely high for her. She got her first call-up to the national team in 2022 and is definitely going to be a trailblazer as the years go by in women's football. Up next in Group E is the first of 2 debuting nations, and the first one here is Vietnam, who qualified for the Women's World Cup by winning the Asian Cup playoffs. And their head coach is Mai Duk Chung, I really hope I pronounced that correct as always, whose tactical approach is going to be very pragmatic at this World Cup, as she will seek to nullify the opposition's strengths and maximize his team's attacking potential, just like Haiti, as we explained earlier with De La Pine's tactics. And that will be their approach in trying to navigate a very tough group, which not only features the USA but the Netherlands as well. Now, the veteran to watch for Vietnam is Tran Thi Thuy Trang. Again, I hope I pronounced that correctly, who is the national team captain and received her first cap in 2014. She, much like some of the other veterans we have mentioned in this video so far, is a midfield general, and she has a very good engine on her and is a hard worker. And she will likely be the jewel in the team who will help to dictate the plays as the team faces up against this tough opposition that we've just mentioned here. And hopefully she can have a very good showing at the World Cup along with the rest of her national teammates. And the starlet to watch for Vietnam is 21-year-old Nguyen Thi Tan Ma. Again, I really hope I pronounced this correctly, who received her first cap in 2019. And so far, when it comes to the national team, in 28 appearances, she has 7 goals to show for it, which I think is a very respectable return for the team. And just like the rest of her teammates, I really hope that they do have a very good showing and can come off with a very tremendous scalp in either the USA or the Netherlands as the tournament goes on. The Orange Lionesses are next here in this group, who qualified for the Women's World Cup by winning their qualifier group ahead of the likes of Iceland, Czech Republic, Belarus, and Cyprus. And their best performance at a World Cup was actually the most recent one held in France 2019, where just like China, they finished runners-up to the USA. And apart from the World Cup, when it comes to other international performances, the Netherlands have also won the Women's Euros in 2017. Now, the team is going to be headed up by Andries Jonker, whose tactical approach is going to be relying heavily on pressing the opposition and attacking at the first opportunity to do so. So if that sounds familiar or looks familiar when you watch the Netherlands play, to me personally, it looks a little bit inspired by the tactical approach of Jurgen Klopp at both Liverpool and Borussia Dortmund. So definitely the Netherlands are going to be a very entertaining team to watch at the World Cup. And the veteran to watch for the Netherlands national women's team is none other than the midfield maestro herself, Seriea Spitzer. Now, Spitzer was first capped all the way back in 2006 and is currently the most capped player in all of Dutch football history with well over 200 caps. Even on the men's side, no one can touch her record, as the most capped player, Wesley Sneijder, only has 134 caps to his name, and as we all know, he is retired. Now, Spitzer herself is also a member of the 2017 Women's Euro winning team and has even been given the Knight of the Orange Nassau Award, which just goes to show her contribution to Dutch football and international football and just global football in general throughout her very illustrious career. And the Dutch Dynamo who will be featuring for her national team as their starlet is going to be none other than 19-year-old Espe Brooks, who scored the winner against Iceland, which actually helped to secure World Cup qualification for the Netherlands. Now, Brooks, she plays as a wide midfielder and is currently 19 years of age and will surely get herself on the score sheet when she goes down under in Australia and New Zealand with her national team. And the final debutante to feature in this group is none other than Portugal, who qualified for the Women's World Cup by winning their playoff final against Cameroon. Now, this is again the debut of Portugal at the Women's World Cup, and their current head coach is Francisco Neto, whose approach is going to see the team adopt a very compact defensive style and absorb so much pressure from the opposition, and you can see why given their competition. And just like the Vietnamese women's national team, they will look to counterattack and potentially devastate the opponent where they can, given the opportunities that will be on show for them, especially for them and they go off against the United States of America and the Netherlands as well. Those opportunities will come few and far in between, so they will look to capitalize on any opening that they can get throughout those two games and even against Vietnam as well. Now, the veteran to watch here for the Portuguese women's team is none other than Jessica Silva, who received her first national team cap in 2011. Now, Silva has been a Champions League winner with Olympique Lyonnais and currently plays for SL Benfica in Portugal, where in 13 appearances last season she scored 13 goals. So she is definitely one of the players with a lot of attacking prowess to them and will look to help Portugal steer clear of the group stages and potentially, if possible, advance to the knockouts. And the Portuguese starter to watch is going to be another player whose name you should all remember, Kika Nazareth, who is only 20 years of age and also plays for Benfica. And in the 44 appearances she's made for the club so far, she has scored 34 goals, and obviously she outscored Silva in the season where they played together for the first time, and she also received her first cap in 2020. So Kika Nazareth is going to be definitely another one of the young players to watch out for, not only on the national level here at the World Cup, but even in the domestic leagues, as surely she will not be staying at Benfica for too long. The bigger teams will eventually come calling for her signature. In a beautiful twist of ironic humor that I'm only realizing now, even though I've done 2 previous videos featuring this team, Group F starts us off with France, who qualified by topping their qualifying group ahead of the likes of Wales, Slovenia, Greece, Kazakhstan, and Estonia. Their better performance at a World Cup was finishing 4th, and they're headed up by new coach Renard, whose tactical approach entails a very energetic approach to any game that will see the team focusing on attacking or adapting to the opposition should they become overwhelmed and unable to attack. So that will be something to look out for if France are to progress past the group stages, as the teams that they have in their group will not offer that much of an opportunity for us to see that adaptation process unless France just have an uncharacteristically poor game. Now, when it comes to France, they also had very similar issues in the build-up to the World Cup with their former coach Corinne Tayac, which I also covered in another one of the videos that I made earlier on this year. But luckily, with the installment of Renard as the new coach, it has seen things go a lot more smoothly for the French national team. So hopefully they can be able to carry on that good form and good team morale over to the World Cup, and they can hopefully have a very good run to the finals if they can get that far. Now, the veteran player to watch out for Les Bleus is going to be the prolific goal-scoring talisman known as Eugénie Le Sommer, who was first capped in 2009 and is the all-time goalscorer for France for both the men's and the women's side, as she has 89 goals to her name for the national team. She is a player for Olympique Lyonnais, and in 227 appearances for the club, she has scored 183 goals. She is also a 10-time league winner and an 8-time Champions League winner, so she is going to be a nightmare for the opposition defense, not only the group stages but even the knockout stages of the game, and is going to be the veteran to watch for France. And the young starter to watch for the French national team is going to be 21-year-old Aurélien Jean-François, who plays for PSG in the French top division there for the women's teams. And she was first capped in 2020 and is one of the up-and-coming starlets coming out of the French team setup, and she is going to be featuring more and more for the Parisian Giants and is going to be one to watch as the years go by. She is developing very well into a very sturdy and dependable central midfielder. Up next in Group F, we have the Reggae Girl of Jamaica, who qualified by topping the CONCACAF Women's Group and ultimately coming in third in the tournament. Their best performance at a World Cup was the most recent one held in France, where they could not leave the group stage, unfortunately. So they'll be hoping to improve on that on this coming edition of the World Cup. Now, the team is headed up by Lauren Donaldson, whose tactical approach is balanced to ensure the most effective outcome for the team based on its collective strengths, which primarily lie in the attack, which is led by our veteran to watch for the Jamaicans, Khadija Bani Shaw, who was first capped in 2015 and is the all-time goal scorer for the Jamaican national team with 55 goals in only 38 appearances. If that was now to be translated to like a Premier League record, she would have broken Erling Haaland's record already with just those statistics alone. Now, she plays for Manchester City in the Women's Super League, where in only 39 appearances she has scored 29 goals, and she is undeniably a prolific goal scorer who's also going to cause lots of headaches for the opposition defenses and will hopefully manage to steer Jamaica out of the group stages and into the knockout stages. And it is 21-year-old Jodie Brown who is the starlet to watch out for in the Reggae Girls national team. She was first capped in 2018 and currently attends the Florida State University in the United States of America. Now, since her first cap, Jodie has gone on to play for Jamaica a total of 18 times, of which in those 18 times she has scored a total of 12 goals, which is a very good return for the young Jamaican here, who will surely make a splash at the World Cup in a few days' time. And our penultimate team here in Group F is going to be Brazil, who qualified by winning the Copa America Femenina. Their best ever performance is coming in second place versus Germany at the 2007 edition of the Women's World Cup. Their head coach, Pia Sundhage, is going to deploy a tactical approach that will see the team be versatile in its style of play when they're facing their different oppositions in the group stage and hopefully in the knockout stages. And the emphasis will mainly be on defensive solidity and lethal countering that will be headed up by none other than Marta, who also, not even coincidentally, is our veteran to watch, as she was first capped in 2002 as the all-time goal scorer for the women's national team with 115 goals in only 174 appearances. She is a former Champions League winner. She is a 6-time FIFA World Player of the Year. She has won the World Cup Golden Boot and Golden Ball in 2007 and is the all-time World Cup goal scorer with 17 goals to her name. She is a legend in every sense of the word, and this will likely be her final World Cup, and hopefully she can have a very strong showing along with the rest of her compatriots at the World Cup. And the young starlet to watch will be found at the heart of the defense here for Brazil, and that is 20-year-old Lauren, who was first capped in 2021, and like I said, she is a defensive stalwart, as when she played for the under-20 national side, she conceded only 3 goals in 13 matches and only lost 1 match for the under-20s, where she was also the South American Women's Championship under-20 winner with the rest of the Brazil under-20 national women's team. So she will definitely also be tested here at a bigger stage, but she's definitely going to be one to watch at the heart of defense. Pretty much nothing can pass through her. So hopefully she, alongside the likes of Marta, can help Brazil go deep in the tournament. And the final team to finish off Group F is Panama, who qualified by topping the Interconfederations playoff group ahead of the likes of Chinese Taipei, Paraguay, and Papua New Guinea. This is also their World Cup debut, like so many nations we've mentioned before, like Vietnam, and their head coach is Nacho Quintana, whose tactics is going to see the team defend from deep and counter when the opportunity is best for them to do so, with the added effect of set pieces being the opportunity to also attack, particularly from corners and free kicks that are close to the box. The national team captain Natalia Mills will be a veteran to watch here, as she has scored 8 goals in 26 appearances for the national team from the central attacking midfield position. So she will definitely be one of the spearheads of the attack here, especially when they are looking to hit opponents on the counter attack and from set pieces as well. And the young starlet to watch for the Panama national women's team will be 23-year-old Riley Tanner, who received her first cap this year in 2023 and has scored 1 goal in 2 appearances so far, which just so happened to be the goal against Papua New Guinea in the qualifiers that saw Panama eventually qualify for the World Cup. Now, Tanner, she is born and bred in the USA, but she qualifies to play for Panama through her mother, who was born in Panama City, then you guessed it, Panama. So all the best to Tanner, all the best to Mills and the rest of their national teammates and for Panama in general at the World Cup. Our penultimate group of Group G kicks off with Sweden, who qualified for the World Cup by topping their own qualification group, and their best ever performance in a World Cup was second place against, you guessed it, not the USA, but Germany in 2003. Now, the coach is Peter Gerhardsen, whose tactical approach is going to see his team deploy a very high impact brand of possession football that leads directly from the front and seeks to just smother the opposition. So you'll be seeing a lot of the time Sweden will just be looking to just stay in the opposition's half and just continuously make sure that they get attack opportunities and give the opponents that will be facing off against very limited, if at all, any opportunities to get into Sweden's half itself. So that will be very interesting and very fun to watch in terms of seeing how Sweden approach and deploy that kind of tactic. But given that the team youth that they have that will be playing there at the World Cup, it will very most likely be a successful tactical deployment by Gerhardsen and his team. Now, the veteran to watch for the Swedish ladies is going to be the midfield anchor known as Caroline Seger. She is the national team captain and received her first cap all the way back in 2005, and this will be her 5th World Cup appearance. She is also a treble winner with Olympique Lyonnais, which she won in 2016-17. And this will be her consecutive appearance at a major tournament for Seger since she received her first cap in 2005. So whether it's the World Cup or the Olympics or the Euros, Caroline Seger has made an appearance at all those major tournaments since 2005. And the starlet to watch out for the Swedish national team is going to be screened by Seger herself, and that is 21-year-old Hanna Lundqvist. And she is going to be 21 years old by the start of the tournament. Right now, she is 20 at the time of recording. She received her first cap last year in 2022 and currently plays as a center back for Atletico Madrid. And pretty much given the stereotypes that Atletico Madrid has for its defensive prowess and defensive nous under the likes of Diego Simeone, if you are playing for Atletico Madrid and are a starting CB for the team, you definitely know what you're doing at the back of the team. So hopefully Hanna Lundqvist can show what she's got when it comes to defending when the World Cup eventually kicks off. So the best of luck to her, Seger, and the rest of the team. The current reigning defending AFCON Women's Champions of South Africa are next up in this group, and that is how they qualified, by winning the AFCON itself. And their best ever performance at a World Cup was at their debut in 2019, where they unfortunately failed to get out of the group stage. So hopefully, just like Jamaica, they can also do their best to get themselves out of the group stage and into the knockouts and just continuously improve from their previous showing at the 2019 World Cup. The team is coached by Desiree Ellis, who was also the mastermind behind the win at the Women's AFCON last year. And her tactical approach is a defense-first approach, where she will seek to hinder the opposition before gaining back opposition and sending the ball outright to initiate an attack through their wider outlets in attack. And their defensive stalwart in Noko Mahlau is going to be their veteran to watch. Now, Mahlau first received her first international cap in 2006, where she initially started out as a striker but eventually turned into a center back as time went by. And during her goal scoring antics there for the national team, she managed 64 goals in 161 appearances and was the first ever South African to be crowned the CAF, that is the Confederation of African Nations, Continental Association there for Africa, African Women's Footballer of the Year. So Mahlau is definitely a veteran in every sense of the word, and hopefully she can help guide her team from the back to navigate their way out of the World Cup group stages. And the attacking virtuosa known as Wendy Shongwe is going to be our starlet to watch. She's currently 20 years old and received her first international cap in 2021. She is currently a university student at the University of Pretoria in South Africa. She can play as a striker, a center forward, or left winger, and is definitely going to be one of the names to watch for the future, especially at this tournament and once she's completed her studies. I personally do expect her to go and make a splash on the European scene because she is really devastating when going forward, and hopefully we will get to see and get a taste of that devastation when the World Cup comes around. The second from last team in this group is Italy, who also qualified by topping their qualifying group ahead of the likes of Switzerland, Romania, Croatia, Moldova, and Lithuania, with their best ever performance at the World Cup coming at the previous tournament 2019, where they finished off at the quarterfinals. Now their team is headed up by Milena Bertolini, whose tactical approach will have the team deploy a defensively oriented possession-based game where they will allow the opposition to come in and make any attacking opportunities they want that Italy will allow them to. Once Italy regains the ball, they will seek to keep the ball as much as possible and slowly progress into their team's opposing half and hopefully get a goal from that. And this is something that will definitely be achievable given the technical prowess that is going to be found in the team, particularly when it comes to ball retention and ball distribution. Goal-scoring talisman Cristiana Girelli will be our veteran to watch for the Italian team, where she received her first cap in 2013, and across her entire club career, she has scored 219 goals in 255 appearances, and for the national team, she has scored 53 goals in 102 appearances. She's an 8-time Serie A winner with Juventus, and she is a member of the Italian Football Hall of Fame, where she was inducted in 2022. And 16-year-old midfield prodigy Giulia Dragoni will be our starter to watch for Italy, where she received her first cap this year in 2023 and recently made a huge move from Inter Milan to Barcelona. So hopefully her career and her progress as a player can advance there, and she can learn a lot off the likes of Alexia Putellas, and hopefully she will be one to watch in the future. And Argentina finished off Group G, and they qualified for the Women's World Cup by coming in third at the Copa America Femenina, and their best performance, just like South Africa, came in the group stages where they also failed to qualify for the knockout stages, and hopefully, if possible, they can improve on that performance. Now, Herman Portanova is the coach of Argentina, and his approach is actually playing on the front foot and looking to give the team an opportunity to attack, especially at the first opportunity that they can carve it out. Now, these opportunities will be overseen by our veteran to watch, Estefania Banini, who was first capped in 2010 and plays as a central attacking midfielder and has been likened to Lionel Messi for obvious reasons, given that she is also the team's talisman, and unlike Messi though, has only recently returned to international duty after her self-imposed exile, since she spoke out against the former coach Borrello's outdated tactics that led to Argentina being knocked out at the group stage in France in 2019. So hopefully with the return of Benini and the front-footed approach that Portanova is looking to implement in his team, Argentina will have a very strong chance of leading the charge in exiting the group stage and going straight to the knockouts of the World Cup. The starlet to watch here is going to be 20-year-old Polina Gramaglia, who plays as a striker and will hopefully be seeing a lot of partnership and service coming from Benini. And she received her first cap in 2021 and played on loan last season for Red Bull Bragantino in Brazil, where in 12 appearances she scored 9 goals. So she definitely has that goal scoring instinct in her, and hopefully should she take to the field, she can finally add some international goals to her already good game of goal scoring on a domestic level. The final group of this very long video begins with Germany, who are 2-time world champions in 2003 and 2007 and qualified for this year's edition of the World Cup by topping their qualification group. Their coach is Martina Voss-Tecklenburg, whose tactics is just simply Germany's calling card of heavy gegenpressing, which is emphasized by quick starts to a game, which they hope will catch the opposition that they face off guard and give them the advantage at the very start of the games and just see them out to the end of the 90. The national team captain Alexandra Popp is our veteran to watch here, as she, like many of the names we've mentioned in this video, is a goal-scoring talisman, as she has 62 goals in 128 appearances for the national team. She is also a gold medalist at the Olympics with the national team. She's a 3-time Women's Champions League winner, a 7-time Frauen Bundesliga champion, and a back-to-back treble winner with VfL Wolfsburg. Another ace in the sleeve, but this time for Germany, is our starter to watch, and that is 20-year-old Julie Brand. She first received her first cap in 2021 and is going to be one of the most positionally versatile players for Germany and in the tournament in general, as she can play in central defense, she can play in central midfield, and she can play out on the wing. And she was the inaugural Tuttosport Best European Golden Girl in 2022. So she is definitely going to be one of the players who gets hopefully a lot of game time and will be utilized heavily by Vos Tecklenburg when the tournament comes around, just given her positional diverseness alone. The final debuting nation at the Women's World Cup is the Atlas Lionesses of Morocco, who qualified by advancing to the final of the Women's AFCON, where they unfortunately lost out to South Africa on home soil. Now, the team is coached by Reynold Pedros, whose approach is going to be very balanced, with a very strong defense that was on display at the AFCONs last year, and a very effective attack. And this attack is going to be led by Ghislaine Chebak, I really hope I pronounced that correctly, who received her first international cap in 2018. And so far in 60 appearances for Morocco, she has scored 21 goals and was also voted the best player and was the top scorer at the 2022 Women's AFCON that was held recently. And she is also the jewel / the crown of the attack for the Atlas Lionesses. And the starlet to watch for Morocco will be Nesrine El Chad, who was first capped in 2022 and is also one for the future at centre back, just like Lauren here. And she currently plies her club trade for Saint Etienne in France, and so far has made 8 appearances for the team. Las Chicas Superpoderosas, the best nickname that I have fallen in love with out of all the nicknames for the national teams at the World Cup this year, are going to be our penultimate team for this video. And Colombia qualified by coming second in the Copa America Femenina that was held last year, where they lost out in the final to Brazil. Their best ever World Cup performance came all the way back 2015, where they finished in the round of 16. And their coach, Nelson Abadia, is going to have a defensive approach to his game, where the team will likely line up in a 4-2-3-1 formation, with the form of his own players being the deciding factor on how they're going to approach their game, where if the team is feeling up to it, they will go and attack as much as possible, especially with the talents of their starlet to watch on display, which we'll get to soon. But other than that, Colombia will be looking to navigate their way out of the group stages with Germany as well, who are by far the favorites to go through in this group. One of the players whose form will determine the approach on the day for Colombia is our veteran to watch, Catalina Usme, who was first capped all the way back in 2005, and in 75 appearances appearing as a central attacking midfield for the national team, has managed to score 38 goals. And the starlet to watch, who we alluded to earlier, is 18-year-old Linda Caicedo. Now, Caicedo is definitely a trailblazer, especially for someone as young as she is, as she received her first senior cap in 2019 at the young age of 14 years old. Please, if you can, leave in the comments, what were you doing at 14 years old? I can tell you now what I was doing. I was going to school, and academics were beating me mercilessly. But apart from that, going back to Caicedo, she plays outright on the wing, and she has scored 4 goals in 16 appearances for the national team and currently plays for Real Madrid. And finally, South Korea round up the teams that will be featuring at the World Cup as they qualified for the World Cup by advancing to the semi-finals of the Women's Asian Cup last year. Their best ever performance at a World Cup was reaching the round of 16 in 2005. Their head coach is Colin Bell, whose tactics is going to be looking at high-intensity defensive pressing and counter-attacking football, which is emphasized based on the opponent, with the key area being in midfield, which will dictate the level of intensity and pressure that the South Korean national team will deploy against their opposition. Now the veteran to watch is going to be Ji So-yoon, who was first capped all the way back in 2006. In 145 appearances for the national women's team, she has gotten herself 67 goals and was most recently with Chelsea, where she was a 6-time Women's Super League winner. And 16-year-old Casey Fair will be the starter to watch for the Tangi Youth ladies, who received her first cap this year in 2023, and in 14 appearances for Pingri High School in the United States of America, she has 25 goals. So she will be joining some very elite company in the started section, and hopefully she can have a very good tournament alongside her fellow South Korean teammates. And that will end this over hour-long video. I really hope that you have enjoyed this video, and at the very least have come away with a little bit of insight as to the teams / the team that you'll be supporting at the World Cup coming up in 2 days' time. Hopefully you also enjoyed the tournament and are looking forward as much as I am. But until the next video, please like, share, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.